website right now and download my free course on alternate picking mastery. It contains 5 essential exercises that will take you to alternate picking mastery faster than you can imagine. And then I've included my method of how to lay out a practice plan in just 1 to 2 minutes that will absolutely boost your results like nothing you ever tried before. So go download it right now. It's free. Hey, I was asked a very good question about left-hand technique. Do you lift your fingers, right? How should you, when you're playing something, let's say you're playing a chromatic thing, just to really have an example that involves the problem here, or the challenge, is that, let's say you're playing the notes on the high E string in the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th, just like, all right? When you're playing them in an ascending way, should you lift your fingers? Should you play like this, and then, first finger first, and then second finger, and then third finger, and then fourth finger? And some people might say, what an idiotic question. Of course not. But that's because you're just used to doing this, because of course you want to make sure that your finger stays there, right? When you do an ascending thing, because then you can pull off, first of all, right? That's just ready underneath the fingers to pull off, right? And why would you, the first finger is really strong, right? And once it's pressed down, or, it's pressing down on the string, it becomes really easy to fret it with the other fingers, right? Because it's so close to the frets now. So those are 2 obvious reasons to just keep your fingers on when you go up. But I've heard, this concept of tapping almost, like some people say that's the right way to do it, because then you'll be ready for the Alan Holdsworth way of, tapping your way instead of, right? And that's really a pathetic emulation of Alan Holdsworth. But when you do that, that's a different technique entirely. That's tapping with your left hand, and there's nothing wrong with that, just. But when I do that, on rare occasions, I use that with hammer-ons and pull-offs. When you're doing hammer-ons and pull-offs, you absolutely want to have your fingers stay when you go up the string. And when you go down, you want to, leave them off, because that's, you have to, otherwise you can't play the note, right? When you do some tapping stuff, you want to just tap, but then you have the problem of the string ringing out below. Let me just add some distortion. So we have the ooh in the background, because it's ringing out, right? So don't to drop the illusion of being able to just have one way of doing things with your left hand when you're playing alternate picking, sweep picking, directional picking, whatever you call it. You want to have your fingers stay once they're on, and then, right? And for hammer-ons and pull-offs, legato, you want to do the same thing. And then you can combine stuff, right? With the same left-hand technique, you can basically, not the same technique, but with the same way of placing and removing your fingers, you can do both picking and hammer-ons and pull-offs. When you're tapping, right? But that's not, you don't want to do that unless you're practicing tapping, because it's a totally different thing where you're basically not relying on, and you have to have some kind of muting down here. But again, when I'm tapping, and only so on one string, I'm just doing the same thing. I'm going. And Alan Holdsworth is doing that as well. Please. And if you doubt it, take a YouTube video, see if you can put it into some kind of software and look at it slowly. There's no tapping going on when he can avoid it. When he's on one string, he puts his fingers on and they stay there when he's doing, and he's not tapping, he's doing hammer-ons or pull-offs, right? When he goes in a descending manner on one string. So that doesn't really exist. I hope this makes sense. So just, leave them on there when you're going up one string, right? Instead of having them go in the other direction. I actually had a couple of students who practiced this, right, lifting them each time, and it was a huge ordeal to stop doing that because it's impairing your ability to. Because, it's a final point, you can shut the video off right now, but final point, when you do this, when should you, if you play the first note and you want to play the next, when should you lift this in relation to hammering on with the next? To avoid the open string ringing out. That margin of failure is. And can you really learn to do it that accurately so you have when one finger goes down, the other goes up just perfectly? So this one goes up, and before it actually leaves the string, the other finger touches the string and taps like that. Just perfect, right? When can you do this? It's not really, I shouldn't say it's impossible because, people surprise me all the time. But that's why you want some muting going on when you're tapping on one string down here. But you're not, because hammer-ons and pull-offs, whenever you're. That's the easiest, most efficient way of producing the notes when you're on one string. When you're moving back and forth between two strings, or three strings like that, then you want to tap each and every note. But that's a different thing. I hope that was sufficient.
Subscribe for more free videos. Do it. Do it now. Do it.